Alright, welcome to part 2 of drawing trees. We've learned how in part 1 to draw a full tree, so now we're going to draw a bare tree, and I'm just going to show you a technique how you can actually just draw, some smaller trees that are bare or winter trees that doesn't have any leaves on them. Basically what you want to do, and you can go any direction you want, because always remember trees grow, in different directions. They don't always all grow the same. But basically what you want to start at the ground where the root of the tree is, basically, and then just start drawing your trunk and start drawing up, and then you can come out and you can create the branches basically just however you want to create these branches. You can add as many or you can add as little branches as you really want to. You can actually just make them curve different ways, give them their own kind of character basically. You can draw complete trees with all the branches, or you can just draw half trees as well. Usually if you're drawing bigger trees, you'll draw the half trees. So I'm just going to have these 4 limbs coming out of this tree, and you can always go in and I'll show you in just a minute how to add more little smaller limbs to it. But what you want to do, you want to taper these limbs off as they grow out. You're just kind of making them into a little bit of a V shape, and then you're just actually drawing another V shape inside of them, just like this. That's what I usually call it, a V shape. And you can just create a few more V shapes. Then as your tree starts growing out a little bit, then you can actually just start making the thinner branches just branch off. And the way that you do this and you draw these thinner branches, you just basically just take and flick your wrist just real quick and just give it a little bit of a curved line. Just kind of make it look like it's drawn a little bit unnatural, or not unnatural, natural, because you don't want everything to be the same. And then to just make even more thinner branches, then basically all you have to do is just draw these little sharp curved lines, and you can have them coming out basically any direction that you want them coming out, but you just want to always make sure that you're tapering them off and making them smaller as you get to the top of your tree. And you can have as many branches coming off of each other as you want to have, coming off of each other. There's different type of trees, as I said, that you can actually draw. There's different ways that you can do it. If you're really not sure how a tree is to be drawn, and if you want to draw a specific type of tree, it's always a good idea to get you a reference photo. And I always like to just make sure to just darken the limbs. You don't have to darken the whole limb, the thin part, but it gives it a lot more character as you go in and you actually darken the limbs, at least the ends of the limbs that you draw. This type of tree here is just basically one of them bare trees. It's just basically all sticks, as you can see. And you can really just, you could keep going with this. You could just keep on going, you know, forever, you know, drawing these type of trees like this. You can make your branches as long as you want. And it's a good idea to you know, have some long branches, you know, growing and coming out of it. Then you can give your tree just a little simulation of some bark just by shading it lighter colors and darker colors. And all I'm using here is a 2B pencil for this. Another good trick is you can actually take a small thin eraser and you can add some highlights to your trunk or anywhere on the tree basically that you want to add some highlights to. You can always give it some ground, you know, draw just to show that it's actually sitting on the ground. Actually makes your tree come to life a little bit more. You don't have to use a 2B pencil if you don't want to. You can always draw a, you know, with a darker pencil, 4B, just whatever you really want to draw with. But if you're looking at reference photos, it'll give you some sort of direction to go in on what type of tree that you actually, you know, want to draw. One thing I actually like doing on these type of trees is just making my little lines and just bunching them up real close together. Some of them maybe not so close than the others, but it just gives it, you know, a little bit more of a character, you know, when you do that. It's just a real thin tree is what this is. It's thick at the bottom, then it just really thins out toward the top. You can make some of your lines or your branches, you can make them some thicker than the others, you can make some, you know, thin. Just really however you want to do it. But I always like making sure that I go in and just thin the base of the limbs there, just to give it a little bit of a darker value here. It does seem to give it, you know, a little more character. And then the little small limbs, as they come out like this, you just want to go in and kind of darken some of those. You don't want to actually darken the whole entire limb, just the base of it where it grows out from the other limbs. It does give it a lot more character, you know, this way. And you don't have to make them all dark. You can actually leave some light. It's always good to leave some light, you know, just lightly drawn. You can do that as well. Especially the ones that are coming out on the very end of your tree. You know, you can make those fairly light. That just gives it, good character. And this isn't the only tree that you can draw by all means. This is just a form of a tree that you can actually draw. And I'm going to do one more. I'm going to do just a small, thin tree and show you how you can do small trees. And these are really good trees to draw if you're drawing a distance tree, if you want it to be in the background. You don't really want it to be your main tree in the front of your drawing. It's just a real small twig, basically, just coming up out of the ground. You've seen these small trees, that just real small trunks. And then as you go to the top, just thin it out. Now you really don't want to draw your limbs directly side by side. That doesn't make it look like a natural tree. But what you want to do is just take and draw your limbs whenever you get your limbs defined, your first limb, however you want to actually draw it. Just kind of offset it just a little bit. You can add as many of the smaller limbs, as you want to add to it. Make some actually going down toward the ground. And then there's some that goes out in just different directions. You don't always have to make them all equal either as far as coming out the same length. You want some smaller ones. This way you go outside and look at a tree and you'll see, they don't all grow in proportion. They're not all the same. They don't all grow, the limbs don't grow equally. They just grow, it's just grow how they are designed to grow, and that's just how, these trees are. You can leave these as bare as you want to leave these. You can add as many limbs as you actually want to draw on these, even though if you're going to leave them bare. But it's a pretty simple process, just creating the smaller limbs. Give this one just a little bit of a ground. But that's all you do basically. You just take and just flick your wrist, make a quick stroke, flick your wrist and give it. Some of them, you can draw straight, and then some of them you can actually just make it kind of a curve or a zigzag, however you want to do it. Just make them look like they're just naturally growing crooked, basically. And if you do that, you're going to draw, a pretty good looking tree. We're going to show you how later on to do the leaves. As a matter of fact, I may go ahead and just use these same trees here when we get ready to do the leaves, and then show you how to create leaves by just creating simple textures with your pencil. But practice these trees. You can always refer back to this video if you're not sure how to create the limbs, how to make your branches come off your tree trunk just like it needs to look. And get some reference photos, practice drawing from some reference photos, and be patient and don't give up, and just keep drawing, and you'll be able to draw nice looking trees. So we'll get ready for the next module. Keep drawing your trees, and whenever you're confident and ready to move on to the next module, then I'll show you how to draw the leaves.